Hi everyone. I'm happy to present you our presentation in the virtual LoRaWAN conference. I'm really happy that we can be part of that. First of all, I would like to introduce our company, that you have an idea who we are and what we are doing. And then I will give you an example of what we have realized over the last years. And then we will give you, of course, an insight of how we do the development process of LoRaWAN hardware. First of all, our company was founded over 30 years ago. Our main focus is in developing custom-specific hardware and firmware. 5 years ago, we had strongly focused on IoT solutions, especially on radio products and the development of LoRaWAN products, for sure. What we have realized in the last year, so our main strength is always in realizing custom-specific solutions, because we think custom-specific solutions give you a really big advantage in your product, that you can make the best out of your application. Let's go through several examples we have done over the last years. One is we did several GPS tracking devices, and that is what we are giving an insight to you later on, how we realize that and what's important to looking if you do custom-specific hardware design. Next, we did a lot of devices all around energy monitoring. We did a special device you can plug on the infrared interface of power meters, and it gives you easy access to that. It detects what type of meter you have and then transmit the values to the LoRaWAN network. That's a pretty clever and smart solution for existing power meters. We do a lot of, in the construction side, we do a lot with wood construction. And the problem there is if you become water inside the wood loses its construction strength. And to detect if your flat roof is still dry, we developed a LoRaWAN device for a customer for us, which detects if everything is dry on the roof of that. Pretty interesting is we see in a lot of the buildings we have fire extinguishers, and they need to be monitored because we have robberies against that. So people take out of the fire extinguisher out of the housings, and in case of an emergency, you can't guarantee that you can solve that problem if you have a fire there. And for that, we developed a clever device. You can plug into the fire extinguisher. We detect if somebody is removing the fire extinguisher from the wall, or if you plug out the release and use it really. And if one of these two things happen, you become a notification on the back-end side that you can react on that. Another big trouble is for fire hydrants. We have a lot of water get out from our farmers here, so they always take out watering for the fields. And to detect if somebody's removing the seal of the fire hydrant and watering the fields without paying for that, we have a clever general cap developed for the company Ravelli, which detects if somebody's opened the fire hydrant. We like to give you now an insight of our development process. First of all, it's always your idea. So you have a certain idea of a device, of an application, you have a new business idea, whatever. We can prove that. After that, we develop with you a concept that we can think of requirements for, let's say, certifications, special needs of the housing and stuff like that. We can really good support you because you have your knowledge of the application and we have the knowledge of the technical point of view and how we can solve that. After that phase, it comes to the most important phase, is the definition phase. So what do you really need? How long needs to be the battery lifetime? How many messages do you really have to send? You have to think about that and give you an idea of the size of the device, because it comes from your requirements. Then it becomes the battery size, and of course that gives you the size of the end device itself. And for that, it's always a compromise of being the right size or as small as possible and the right battery lifetime, for example. When we have this definition finished, we start into the development process. So then we really make schematic, layout, house construction, and then at the end we do some prototype development, which we test and write the firmware for your application. When we have done that, the next phase is very important too. We have to think about industrialization phase. Sure, we start at the beginning to think about how we can produce the products, because it's really important if you have a big mass production, so how you design your product that is possible to easily manufacture it at the end. So that we take in care for how the layout is, how many test points we have, and of course the mounting inside the housing. That is very important to take care of that to become a good product price at the end. And when we have finished the industrialization phase, which we build test facilities for series production, we made all certifications you need for sure, and we have all finished of that. Then at the end you have your product, and we can guarantee that we can produce that product for years like it is. Because that's another big issue we see with standard products. Our customers have problems to get the same product as it is even in the future. Maybe the manufacturer changed firmware and you have trouble in the integration, so you see in the field maybe it stopped working because you have a new firmware version there, and all the problems you don't have if you have your own design. And that is why we really recommend take the risk that you have become really your own solution, because then you have all in your hand. So we decided to pick that design to show you how the development process for LoRaWAN devices work in detail. We have a separate pitch for that, which we present you the functionality of that really or extraordinary GPS tracker, because we have a lot of functionality inside here with special firmware function for add-on features you don't find in standard GPS tracker on the market. So what skills do you need for such a development process? As here you can see on that device, we even did a mechanical design for a custom-specific housing. You need knowledge about the manufacturing process, because that you can make a design, electronic design, mechanical design, which is optimized for series production. You need really good knowledge how your production facility work, how you can do the test during mass production. You need skills and think about logistic process, installation process on the customer side, because we see on many standard devices you lose a lot of time in configuring the devices for your application. And even if you scale up and roll out, let's say 1,000, 3,000, 10,000 devices, be really careful about that amount of time you need there for the installation process. So it's really extraordinarily important that you think about the whole life of that. And even in the field, so let's say if the battery lifetime becomes only to 1 year, you think about the time you need to replace 10,000 times the battery for your devices. So it's really, it costs you really a lot of money to do that. And for that, it's maybe more important for you to spend more cost in a bigger battery to reach that. Great, so let's hand over the word to our CTO, Gian Ravelli. He will give you the insights about that certain product we developed in the last year.
Thanks, Stefan. Hi everyone, I'm Gian Ravelli, CTO at comtac, and I want to explain our integral development approach based on the LPN tracker. Everything starts with your idea. In a joint discussion, the requirements are worked out and technical solutions are discussed. To refine these technical requirements, we discuss the structure and functionality on the block diagram. This is followed by the evaluation of components, such as batteries, antennas, and so on. Only the right combination of a multitude of components allows a product to be trimmed for low power and best radio performance. The development of a customer-specific housing has many advantages. All requirements can be considered without any compromise. Product costs are reduced and the design is unique. First sketches serve you to quickly have a feeling for the design and form language. If you like the design proposition, we start actual modeling and construction of the housing. Using rapid prototyping and CNC milling, a physical object is created so that you can hold it in your hand and carry out the first tests. If the housing prototype meets your requirements, we will start with production of injection molding tools. These molds will be used to mass produce the final housing. After the structures of the electronics have been defined in a block diagram, the actual schematic design begins. During schematic design, a refined selection of components is done, and the connection between them are specified. Here, we also carry out extensive modeling of the power consumption. Only in this way we can ensure that a long battery life is guaranteed for your product. The next step is the layout design. The components defined in the schematic are placed on a printed circuit board and electrical connections are set. All design with radio technology requires special attention. In order to achieve the best radio performance, the following topics must be considered already during the layout, like antenna placement, ratio of antenna to ground area, antenna path, and so on. The finished design is produced in our own production facilities. This is where all the components are purchased, assembled, and soldered. Visual inspection and extensive electrical testing guarantees the necessary quality, starting with the first prototypes to the mass production. Thus, after a short time, we have a first prototype on our work desk. With these prototypes, we can finish the firmware development. During firmware development, your requirements are translated in firmware code. Only a sophisticated and optimized firmware architecture ensures that a device has the lowest possible power consumption. Prototypes are tested extensively here at comtac. A series of tests are performed: hardware test, climatic test, water tightness and drop test, EMC pre-measurements, firmware function test, and of course, radio test. To achieve good radio performance, we adjust the antenna and test the transmit and the receive power in detail. Only in this way we can ensure that a product has the necessary quality for your application and is conform with the actual radio frequency standards. The finished device is handed over to you for your application testing. Only when you are completely satisfied with our development, we consider the development as completed and we can proceed to mass production. A new device is born. Thanks for your attention.
So thank you very much, Gian Ravelli, for your explanation about how the development process works. And as you just saw or heard, it's very important, the team. So you see we have many interfaces between mechanic construction, your as customer, the development process in the electronic facilities, and the production facilities at the end, even for the sourcing and stuff like that. And there, let's say, as less interfaces you have, as better and as faster you can do the development. And for that, we are in a company group, so we have producers at our side and we work with selected construction site. We really know exactly the interfaces there, and that makes it very important for us. At comtac, our team is really mixed, so we have a lot of younger engineers with really clever ideas, and of course we have the half of the team is really experienced with over 30 years and more years experience in development, exact knowledge about regulatory requirements, certification, and the detailed radio regulations we have in the world. So thank you very much for your time and for seeing our pitch here. If you have any questions, or even if you're interested in working with us together, we will be very happy. So just drop us an email or call us. We are really ready for you. Thank you very much for your time.